The mid-season chapter update is clear, and that's why we today rank all DBD killers from worst to best. Next we're going to look at the pick rates, the week after we're going to look at the kill rates, and after that you basically have everything you need to know about the current meta in Dead by Daylight. With that being said, let's go boys! And the worst killer in the entirety of Dead by Daylight is obviously the Trapper. He has like a very bad early game, and I don't think I need to say too much to him, because reason number one, reason number two, corrupt intervention, and his early game that he needs to pick up his strats, that he needs to set up, and yeah, he can easily be harassed in the beginning. So there's not much to say. Also, corrupt is like a needed perk when it comes to him. Yeah, it's the Trapper. I hope he changes. I really do. And for second to last place is Michael Myers on our place number 29, and he suffers from the same problem as the Trapper really much. He has a bird early game. You start like as a very weak killer and only become normal after like a good minute or two, and if your early game is genuinely bad, it can even take longer, which is just atrocious. However, Myers can sometimes feel like one of the strongest killers in game. He punishes mistakes from survivors very hard, especially when you play like one of his stronger add-ons like the Tombstone pieces, for example, or the Tuft of Hell, which makes your tier 3 go infinite. And I feel like those are really good add-ons, and they're a game breaking and definitely need a change. However, on the other hand, it's also true that Myers has a huge map dependency and a very low skill ceiling. I mean, you can't like ignore this fact that his skill ceiling is arguably one of the lowest in game, which also makes him like, you can't really put him like in the top 20 space, for example, because the first time you play Myers will be different to the 20th time you play Myers, but after that, where will it progress towards, you know what I'm saying? So I think Myers 29, well deserved. In spot number 28, we have Freddy, and his power needs to be charged up. He gets also weaker like the more the game progresses. He has like this teleport mechanic, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, what can I really say about it? Dream Snares and Dream Pellets are good, but not really game-changing in my opinion. However, the Oblivious status effect with his Dream State is very strong, but mostly against solo queue players. So when you go against the Survivor friends, you know, Freddy gets a lot weaker. Although Freddy's kill rate, I mean, this is something that a history has shown, is very good. And I think he's like in the top 5 almost every time we have looked at the stats. But, I mean, there's nothing else to say for Freddy. When he's played by a decent killer and when he has decent survivors against him, I think this is his maximum potential. Place number 28 goes to Freddy. Next up we have the Wraith, and the Wraith has a huge map dependency. He has almost boring add-ons. I mean, his spell goes silent. I mean, they're strong in some cases, don't get me wrong, but still the add-ons are pretty boring. Yet again, the Wraith has seemingly no skill ceiling, and he is overall boring in my opinion. I mean, it speaks for itself that is one of his main mechanics to actually master him is blocking survivors from vaulting or dropping a pallet. So yeah, that's the placement for the Wraith. And on place number 26, this hurts a bit, it is the Onryo. I mean, Condemned is a very weak power, unless you kind of like put the time into it to learn and how to force it. One Pump really, by the way, is one of the greatest guys there. If you ever watched him play and how he forces the Condemned, you see that the Onryo needs like very much time and very much practice in order to be better with her. Also, we should absolutely acknowledge that the Onryo needs a buff in order to make like Condemned a mechanic that the majority of the player base of Dead by Daylight can actually enjoy and use more efficiently. I mean, we don't need to talk about it further. She has problems outdoors. She's absolutely weak around pallets. When you compare her to Dredge, it becomes very obvious why she is so much weaker than the Dredge, for example. The Dredge has his Remnant, which he can like actually, you know, chase survivors with and actually play around pallets. And then you look at the Onryo and she only has the teleportation mechanic, and yeah, that basically grants nothing. Also on top, Onryo has one of the weakest add-on sets in the entire game, and in the end, the only reason why she's on place number 26 and not on place number 28 like Freddy is because her teleportation mechanic is simply better than his. And that's the only reason. Place number 26, and I'm very sad to say this, goes to the Onryo. And next up is the Pig, and yeah, the Pig hugely depends on RNG. Good RNG can make the Pig feel absolutely overpowered and strong as hell, but bad RNG makes her almost meaningless. Her stealth mechanic is okay, but bad overall. Her ambush, however, can be used to make loops around pellets bearable, but outside of it, it's still weak, and even in pallet structures, while being in chase, is sometimes not that good. With that being said, the pick, a deserved place 25. The newest killer and the newest addition to the game is the Knight, and he takes our place number 24. He is uber strong around specific pallets and tiles. In my opinion, you can almost compare it a bit to the pick's ambush mechanic. However, he has a very weak add-on set. He has a huge map dependency and has almost no skill ceiling, in my opinion. Probably we just need time in order to get used to him a bit more and to find some tricks and tips for him. But for now, he's our place number 24. And next up is one of the most fun killers to play in the game is the Legion. And the Legion has like a very hard time against better players. In my opinion, he also has a very low skill ceiling, and Frenzy makes survivors like sometimes waste time a lot, especially when they're lesser skilled and you can actually get very much out of your Frenzy, even to like the 5th hit. I mean, you have to think about it. They have to mend. For this like 12 seconds, they can't be on gens whatsoever. His add-ons on the other side are okay and good, pretty much. I mean, there's one add-on which makes it so that when the survivor mends himself, then he becomes broken for a minute or whatever. And this is one of the strongest add-ons, especially against solo queue players, but I digress a bit. As I said before, he's very good against non-survive with squads, but when you consider that he plays against survive with friends that, you know, play the game very often, they would just spread and you won't get anything out of your Frenzy whatsoever. You won't get close to a 5th hit, you won't get close to a 4th hit, maybe to a 3rd hit if you're lucky sometimes. Yeah, but with that being said, Legion is our place number 23. Next up we have the Clown, and I think he has one of the best add-on kits in the entire game. He has a huge map dependency, however, and he has a very high and incredibly good skill ceiling. What I want to say though, and why I'm actually just writing off bullet points here in the first 10 seconds of talking about the Clown, is because there was a guide released to him, and Oddstava made a video about it, and I will link you everything you need to know about the new Clown down below. In the description. Please check that out because it will be an eye-opener. The Clown in our place number 22, and when people actually follow this guides more efficiently and better throughout the next months, maybe we talk about the Clown in a year and he will be in the top 15, top 14 spots. What I'm going to say is the Clown has risen in my eyes massively since the guide has dropped. Place number 22. Next up we have the Trickster, and the Trickster is a very good killer in my opinion. He's very strong in open areas and survivors can be downed arguably quicker than with any other character in the entire game. Okay, you need to say is like the Knight is probably like the quickest, his guard hits first and then the second hits comes right after, but the Trickster is very reasonable when it comes to quick downs and quick hits. Okay, his add-on set is very dependent on the map, and he has a noticeable weakness around pallets in my opinion. He has still a very high skill ceiling, and he is very decent against strong unhooks. Main event, however, like his main power if you will, is barely even noticeable, but strong if it happens in the right moment. But yeah, whenever I play Trickster, that never happens. Outside of our top 20, on place number 21 is the Trickster. Next up we have the Ghostface, and he has like a very huge potential to punish survivors right from the go when they make mistakes. Arguably, he is probably one of the killers that, you know, one of the top 5 killers that punish mistakes right from the go. However, this goes for him too, so when you make a mistake with him, you can almost be assured to lose the game entirely. He has top tier add-ons and they are absolutely awesome. I think he prefers the indoors a bit more. They're a little less indoor maps, so I think he falls a bit there. But overall, Ghostface is pretty solid, decent since its rework with the before the 6.1 update. So, long story short, I feel like the Ghostface is in a really good spot at the moment. Place number 19 is the Hillbilly. Well, the Hillbilly has one of the highest skill ceilings in the entire game. I know, I'm talking about the skill ceilings left, right, and center here, but the Hillbilly skill ceiling is simply insane. He has a very high mobility and has an insta-down mechanic as well, and that is absolutely noteworthy. However, you need to know his special techniques like curving, for example, in order to get very much out of him. So in order to be good at him, you need to put in so much time, and arguably you could also put this time into Blight, Nurse, Artist, and you'll be off way better. I mean, he has seemingly no map dependency as well. However, when you are lesser skilled, you probably fear the indoors a bit more than the outdoors. However, the Hillbilly on place number 19 is nothing to be underestimated. Absolutely not. In the right hand, he can be a top 10, arguably even a top 5 killer in my opinion. In our place number 18 we have the Doctor, and although it doesn't really seem like it, the Doctor is very complex in add-on choice and overall playstyle. And to kind of like say this right off the bat, he has an overall strong add-on kit. The 9 pellets or any form of interaction is one of a kind, and it's not seen or replicated by any other killer in the entire game. Executed perfectly, it can easily be one of the most oppressive things in the entire game, and also be very annoying. I mean, W King is one of the best things to do against the Doctor, because being denied and getting this last hit while you trying to vault a pallet or trying to drop a pallet or vault a window is simply something that you don't want to have against you. Also, his power is like very diverse. So you have like the static blast where you can find survivors around you very easily, and the madness that comes to it offers a lot of different possibilities and a lot of builds that you can actually do with the Doctor. He is very diverse, he is sometimes very fun to play, and yeah, in the right hands he can also be a top 10 killer without any doubt. Doctor, place number 18. Next up we have the Demogorgon, and I don't really know what to say. I haven't seen much of him, and this is kind of like a placement where I kind of like feel that he puts in, because I haven't really played him that much. Like, he's one of my least played killers. I mean, arguably he is the least played killer for me, and so it was very hard to rank, but I think his teleportation mechanic makes bigger maps like acceptable. His shred is very okay, and yeah, the thing is, I think he's a bit too straightforward. That's the whole thing I can say. He's a bit too straightforward, and whatever you can bring as demo, I feel like it's almost downright predictable. So yeah, the Demogorgon places on place number 17, but I could see him drop significantly, in this list actually. Next up we have the Dredge, and I was talking about the Dredge when I was talking about the Onryo, and in my opinion he's really a better Onryo. I mean, he has a high skill ceiling. The Onryo seemingly has no skill ceiling if you really think about it, other than you can, I mean, the Onryo has a skill ceiling, right? If you think about Condemned and its power, but when you ignore that because it's really hard to put on, then you quickly realize that, yeah, there's not much to the Onryo. Hard stuff. He has a very high mobility because he can teleport to lockers, and that mobility even increases during nightfall. His Remnant is, as I mentioned before, a very good mechanic to end chases quickly, and the workaround, especially when you vary its use, is very hard to pull off for survivors. And also on top, he has a very good amount of build variety, because he's just so diverse. And also, I need to say this, the Nightfall mechanic, especially when you're a survivor, is absolutely terrifying. I love it, and I love the Dredge overall. However, he feels a bit clunky. I don't really know what to say about this, but the Dredge is definitely a deserved 16th place, and as mentioned a bunch of times already, I could easily put him in the top 10 without even hesitating. And on place number 15 we have the Deathslinger, and he kicks off the better half of this tier list. The Deathslinger works extremely well with M1 perks such as Save the Best for Last or Jolt, for example, and the initial hit, right, is almost guaranteed to injure no matter whether you hit an M1 or not. Therefore, safe loops almost always become unsafe, but his low mobility is a bummer and a very big drawback. He is very good against unhooks though, and his skill ceiling also is very high. I have enjoyed the Deathslinger tremendously throughout the last months, and I can only say that his skill ceiling is not only very high, but you can pull off so many nice things with him once you get the catch of him. He is one of the best killers that has like very bad movement in my opinion, and with that being said, good job Deathslinger on claiming place 15. Next up in place 14 we have the Pinhead, and I want to talk about his chase theme again, because it annoys you, and I love to say that his chase theme sucks. Besides that, I have decided to swap Pinhead with twins, because we now going to blunder Pinhead instead of the twins, because I think the French hatred, you know, it isn't really deserved. So yeah, we do it with Pinhead now. I hope that's fine with you, all of you guys. With that being said, you suck, Penny. Next up, we have undoubtedly my favorite killer in the entire game, the twins. The twins are a very strong slugger, and I've never doubted this ever. But the slugging is also like her biggest drawback, which is a bit sad. She is very, very good in unhook scenarios. I mean, Victor can pressure the hook, while Charlotte, gets the effect of make a choice or even devour, for example. Victor's pounce overall is very strong, and the 0.54 pick rate actually helps the twins a lot, because it not only makes the twins the rarest character or killer that is played in the game, but they're also very, very much unknown by the overall and casual playing survivor, and so her counterplay is not like that prominent as for other killers. I mean, they know how to hold on to Victor, but besides that, there's nothing really much to add. Another drawback, you need to keep survivors injured almost all the time, because it helps Victor a lot. And on place number 12, we have the fastest pallet breaker in the game. We have the Nemesis, and this is also already one of his strong suits. He is, as I said, the fastest pallet breaker in the game once he reaches tier 2 with his tentacle. The beginning of the game therefore is a bit difficult, but if you lose the Marvin's Blood add-on, for example, everything becomes basically fine. You only need 2 survivor hits, you only need to infect 2 survivors, and that is absolutely fine. Zombies are a good tool, but they are so inconsistent. Sometimes they can clutch up games and they can annoy survivors and actually make them lose so much time and gem progress, but most of the times they basically do nothing. Luckily they react to things like discordance and to failed skill checks and all of the stuff, and you can increase that with Nemesis, so some perks on him work definitely better than others. Vaccines are a problem too, because when they are used smart, you can definitely lose like all of the pressure in mid game and also in end game, so it's a bit tough sometimes. But the Nemesis on place number 12 is absolutely deserved, and there's nothing to actually talk about. Next up comes Bubba, our favorite insidious camper. With that being said, he is one of the most reliable campers in the entire game if you can get away with it. He has top tier add-ons, and they are incredibly horrifying. Yet again, very high skill ceiling, and he has seemingly no map dependency. Well, the Withered Isles are they are very, very hard for him. They are very, very hard for him, because the bushes are tremendous. I don't know whether they've fixed this or whatever, but sometimes he gets stuck on things that are absolutely hard to look at. Also, he's one of the killers that punishes survivors for mistakes relatively quick. His place 11 is very deserved. Before we go on to the top 10, you should definitely not only like this video, but also subscribe to the channel. You should also join my Discord if you haven't already. And now, let's go with the top 10 boys. And kicking off our top 10, we have the Oni, and he has like a very high mobility, and you can almost compare everything I said for Hillbilly. You can kind of put it on the Oni, right? You can absolutely do this if you wanted to. His add-ons are okay. He has little to no map dependency, but a very strong unhook scenario. If you really, look at this, if you're in Blood Fury, then what do they want to do? They can only exchange. So there you go. And yeah, the only thing that's a little bit hard and a little bit different to Hillbilly, for example, he has a very tough early game in my opinion. Especially the first injure is very important, and what makes him actually a killer that is inside the top 10 is that he can change a game from 0 to hero within eye blinks. Within literally 1.5 minutes, he can literally change the complexity and the outcome of an entire game. Once he is in his Blood Fury, he's literally unstoppable if you know all the tips and tricks to make him go at its fullest potential. And place number 9 is the Huntress, and if you've ever gone against a very strong Huntress, I think you do, because, well, who hasn't, you know that she can be a force to be reckoned with. She has one of the strongest add-on sets in game, which allow her to use many builds. She has a ridiculously high skill ceiling, She has a stupidly strong Unhook scenario, and almost never, in my opinion, depends on maps that much. Indoors hurt her a bit, yes. Open endeavors definitely make her a lot stronger, but still I don't think it is that noticeable. However, she can punishes mistakes relatively quick. So whenever you vault a window at the wrong time, boom, hatchet. Whenever you just walk in a straight line, boom, hatchet. Whenever you just exist, boom, hatchet. It is insane. And off-meta perks can quickly turn into game-breaking additions to her kit. Thinking about Bitter Murmur, for example. Thinking about Floods of Rage, for example. Okay, Floods of Rage is not really off-meta, but Bitter Murmur can make her potential to cross-map snipe so much bigger. She is one of the strongest killers in game, and if you get hit by Iridescent Hatchet, you know that your game is pretty much over, because that hurts more than know it. I said it. And in our top 8 we have the Pinhead. His special attack with Punishment of the Damned is really cool, but the mind games that come with it are very tough. Pellets are being pre-dropped almost every time you come to it, and then you have to win a mind game in order to injure, respectively, down the survivor. I need to say that the Cage of the Atonement is pretty good, considering the fact that you can't get blinded or flashlight saved on about it. And the Final Judgment, the special ability when someone is tormented, because when you are in the Punishment of the Damned, you can like leave a line, leave a trail, and if the survivor walks through it, he gets like tormented. And in this torment, when you use the Final Judgment, you can easily, you know, just kill a survivor within seconds. You don't need to hook him, you don't need to do anything other than just to put in your blade, use 5 seconds of your time instead of 20, for example, when you get him on your shoulder, and then walk to a hook and hook him. With that being said, he is very diverse, and I think that's awesome. And next up in our place number 7, we have Wesker. He has an insane amount of tricks and techniques that can increase your skill disgustingly. However, his power can sometimes be very hard to use. He has a good pellet workaround and is pretty decent overall with it. He can end chases quickly, but sometimes he struggles even to do that when the survivors are very good and, you know, you're very good chase around the pallet. You can vault pallets, you don't need to destroy them necessarily, and I think that is also very good. He has a very strong add-on set, he has a high skill ceiling as I already mentioned, and sometimes he is able to deal 2 health states at once, either with throwing a survivor into another survivor, or if someone is fully infected, you can just, you know, use your power, slide into them, choke them, and then just get them onto your shoulders immediately, even if they're not injured prior. As I mentioned, his chase power is overall good, and the Wesker, besides having one of the largest terror radius in Dead by Daylight, belongs definitely in our top number 10, and to say it even better, in our top 7. On place number 6 we have the Hag, and the Hag has also a very strong add-on set. Just thinking about the fact that you can teleport with the Mindrag to every trap in the entire trial is already broken on its own way. I mean, she's better against teams who don't harass your trap setups, I don't need to say that, but it also says that against survivor friends, the Hag can be a problem and it's very hard to get proper use out of her. She is the perfect user of off-meta perks like Make Your Choice, for example, because unhook happens, you have set a trap before, you teleport to that trap, hit the unhooked survivor. I've made a short about this, by the way, so check that out, boys. She is very strong on bad maps because, you know, she has a very high range of teleporting, and camping and tunneling, however, sometimes can be very difficult. Nonetheless, you're very good in securing areas around boons and gens, and it almost feels effortless while doing so. However, and this is her biggest drawback, she has a big time struggle against flashlights. Franklin's demise sometimes is almost needed in order to, you know, win a game with her. And on place number 5 we have the Plague. I mean, the Plague counters medkits and almost every other healing perk in the entire game. She is a solo queue stomper, she is very strong, I mean, she has a very strong add-on set. I mean, do we need to talk about the add-ons? I think they're just insane, and she is absolutely overpowered while having the Repuke. If it wasn't for Nurse, like if she was having her Repuke like all the time, she would probably be the strongest killer in the entire game. The fountains are a bit luck-based, that's what brings her down a bit, but besides that, she is very hard to counter overall, especially when you go into a game and equip Empathic Connection or like healing perks, for example, then you are basically screwed and can't really make up for it anymore. So if you, for example, play Self-Care, if you, for example, play Reactive Healing, whatever, these perks are rendered absolutely useless. And in the end, you can also say that the Plague somewhat makes of meta perks really come to life. With that being said, the Plague is solid and well-deserved. Place number 5. What can I say to our place number 4? Because it's the Spirit. The 6.1 update has made her absolutely stronger overall. Her powers renders almost any loop unsafe. She has an overall strong add-on setup. Iron Will Stormfall, as I mentioned, the 6.1 update is also very beneficial to her. And in my opinion, she has like a little weaker beginning because the first injury, in my opinion, is also here very important. There's not much to say because the Spirit speaks for itself and she is strong beyond belief. And now things get spicy with our place number 3, and it is the Artist. She has a boring playstyle, but she is a very reliable hitter and sometimes even guarantees hits. Pellets for the Artist are her strong suit, but that makes also W Keen one of her main problems. She has seemingly no map dependency and you can easily get track survivors across the map and lure them away from gens. This, by the way, makes Deadman Switch one of the best perks to play on her. She has a very strong add-on set on top of all that, and that makes her even stronger. She has one of the highest skill ceilings. I say this about every second killer, what the hell? She has a very high skill ceiling overall, and knowledge and playtime is one of her main keys in order to perfect her as much as you need in order to take on the best survivors in the game. The Artist takes home the bronze medal, and I don't think it's not even close to our place number 4. So let's get to our top 2. This right now makes it really hard because your nurse is getting a rework. Her special, she won't have like any basic attacks anymore after her blink. They're all becoming special attacks. And she isn't really out yet. The whole patch notes haven't been released, so it makes it very hard for me in order to put the nurse on place 1 or place 2 because I don't know on how she is going with Blight. In my opinion, and this is like the thing that I do right now here, I put the nurse on place number 1 anyways. So that means that Blight is our place number 2. He is just strong. He has strong add-ons. He has no map dependency. He is a high mobility killer. He can curve around things. If you have playtime with him, it is so easy in order to actually get something out of him. And I just say what I have to say. I don't need to say much anymore. Blight is absolutely insane. One of the most fun killers in this game, one of the strongest killers in the game, and there is no doubt about that. And as aforementioned, our place number 1, our golden medal goes to the nurse, and I don't think I need to say much here. Yes, the nerf will hit her. Yes, she will definitely have a lower kill rate. Yes, the fact that after her blinks, the attacks now are special attacks and not basic attacks anymore will absolutely have an effect on her, but I still think that she, you know, destroys every rule that Dead by Daylight has. It is about looping, and she can still blink across a pallet, hit you, or whatever, or do whatever disgusting stuff. I am absolutely certain and sure about the fact that we will see tier lists with the nurse being place number 1 over and over again, and until they rework her entirely, I won't think anything will change. And this concludes this video, guys. Yeah, see you next week. LOL. Bye.